Hello and welcome back to On the Workbench. Today we're taking a look at another brand new tool from Kobalt. This is the 24 volt max brushless. Well, I guess we don't actually know if it's brushless or not. It just says 24 volt max PVC and PEX pipe cutter. So this is new for 2023, an expansion of the Kobalt lineup that continues into the plumbing space. So we're going to take a look at this. This is the kit that includes a battery and the charger. Turning this around and looking at the back of the box, we can see a couple specs here. So we've got a tether mounting point for lanyard attachment, jam release, ergonomic grip, built-in LED light, stainless steel blade with a double ground V-edge, durable metal gearbox, quick return blade, and a variable speed trigger for controlled cuts. Few other specs here. Up to 450 cuts is advertised here. Convenient one-handed operation, burr-free cuts, cuts PVC, CPVC, PEX, ABS, and more. Not sure what that more is, but we'll get a chance to take a little quick test at that. So let's go ahead and open up the box. I'm kind of fascinated for how they package this. So this is a long and skinny box. A little different form factor for most Kobalt packages. First thing, we've got our manual, so we should have a battery, a charger, and a tool manual. Set that aside. This has the updated for 2023 or late 2022 charger. That's nice to see. At the other end here, we've got a Kobalt battery. This is the newer style. This says Kobalt in letters. And out of the box, this one has 2 bars of charge. We'll put that on the charger and come back. And then we have the tool nicely wrapped. So when we get the tool out of the box or out of the bag, we've got the new 2023 grip or late 2022 with the hexagons on it. This is, to me, this is a really nice grip. I think they really did a great job improving on the old one. It's nice and soft, and the ridge that used to be here that I know I had some issues with before has been removed and is much more comfortable. You got a nice safety piece right here and a press of the button here for a release on the trigger. So that safety is a really easy integrated piece there. Obviously our battery mounts there. Looking at the other side of the tool, not a button, not a button. We do have a hex key here, and that should be for removing the blade. Now, since this is a tool you may be using in your hand and possibly overhead or wherever else, let's just see how much this tool weighs. So just bare tool by itself, we're checking in at about 4.31 pounds. Now let's add a 2 amp hour battery onto this. And that jumps it to 5.33 pounds, 85.36 ounces. What is that? 2,420 grams, 5.336 pounds. So there is a little bit of heft here on this tool, but this should make your life really easy because it is very nicely balanced. I've got to give them credit for that. If you are going to add the weight, let's not make it more stressful by making it an unbalanced tool. So if I just take this tool here and I put my finger here in the middle, you can see it balances on one fingertip right here in the grip. So the 2 amp hour battery, they did a nice job trying to get this well balanced to minimize that strain on your hand if you need to be using this all day. So what does this tool replace? To me, this replaces this tool here, the ratcheting PVC pipe cutter. This is a tool that I have a love-hate relationship with. That I love it because it cuts PVC without all the mess of a bandsaw or a hacksaw. But you've got to sit here and squeeze and ratchet and ratchet and ratchet. And at least on my particular one, frequently the cuts are never actually at 90 degrees, which is kind of mildly annoying to me. Maybe I'm OCD. This one here for comparison is 2.5 inches is what it's rated for. And I've had this one for maybe about 4 years, give or take at this point. It works great. Probably needs a new blade, but simply open it up and then pop it open. ratchet it all the way down. And sometimes those last couple of ratchets require a good bit of strength here in your wrist to be able to just give that last little tug. And so presumably this tool manages to make that a little bit easier. So now to open the blade, I'm going to simply press on the release button right here. And you can see I can kind of incrementally move it back. To initiate a cut, if I try to press the trigger by itself right here, nothing. I have to wrap my hand fully around the grip to depress this little safety switch right here. I really like that. That's nice and comfortable and easy. And then press the trigger. And then the guillotine comes down into the holder. You've got the LED light here that is visible on the business end and on this side of the tool here. And so for me as a right-handed person, it's easy for me to look at this and see this readily. If I was a left-handed person holding this in my other hand, I'd be more apt to see the other side. So if I was going to categorize this, this is has a slight bias towards a right-handed user. I'm not sure there's a way around it because of having to add the motor, because this tool has no left versus right-handed bias. And then the other feature here, right here, there's another little option right here for a jam release, and hold that to open as an extra way that you can release it open if this won't get it. And then of course we also have a hex nut here that we can use to be able to remove the blade. So I'm going to take the battery off to look at that. With this open, I can fit the hex key in here. Pop this little split washer here. And then the blade comes out and looks just like this. There's a little bow tie looking hole in the middle there. And this just simply slides right in. If you can see the back side, there's a little spot where that little bow tie bushing goes on to lock the blade down. Lay it down, drop this in, push it down, take your nut, put it back on, tighten it up. It should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you're going to change the blade, do not do this with the battery on. You don't want any chance of getting hands anywhere near or the business end closing. And this is a tool that you should definitely store not like this. This is a very dangerous way to store the tool with the blade open, because that blade is going to be very, very sharp. So keep that guillotine of a blade in the closed position just like it was packaged. Let's go ahead and close it down. Now, let's make some cuts. So our first cut is going to be on some 1.5" PVC pipe. This should be very much in the wheelhouse of this tool, since this tool is rated for slightly over 2 inches. So let's go ahead and we'll open it up here. I'm going to press the safety. Open it up. And now with the tool open, I'm going to lay the pipe right here in the jaw of the tool. I'll try to keep it roughly about as flat as possible. Obviously, you can use this on a workbench like this or other portable surface. Now let's go ahead and cut this pipe. And so then it even auto cut off there and stop. Now the next thing I want to look at on this pipe here is how square is this end? Because my old cutter always had issues with it cutting square, and I've got to give this a lot of credit right out of the box. My cut is basically dead on square on that first cut of the pipe. So kudos on that. That's a big deal to me. I know after you get your fittings on, you can kind of fudge a little bit on if it's not quite perfectly square, but it just makes me feel better when I see a nice, perfectly square cut. Now let's repeat that. I'm going to start this with the jam release. Button on the back, lay the pipe down. We're going to cut off another piece. Just like that. Go ahead and check this. And well, this one now is actually a little bit out of square, if you can see the daylight on the edge of the square. So indeed, it's not perfect. And like I said before, you can usually cover that up and hide it within your fitting you're applying. And if we look at the end of the pipe here, there are no burrs on this. This is really nice and clean. It's also the sign of a really sharp blade. Obviously, if you look at this, you can see there's a little bit of PVC debris on there. And now for our next test, I've got 2-inch PVC. Now, since this is obviously rated for more than 2 inches, this should be a tool that will do the job. We'll go ahead and open it up. And we will go ahead and set our PVC in the jaw of the tool and let the tool do the work, not me. There we go. There's our first cut. And we'll put the square on it. And this first cut here, well, that is almost dead on perfect with no daylight on the side of the square. Makes me happy. Let's repeat and do that again. I like that auto stop feature there when it gets to the bottom. Put the square on, and this one now is slightly out of square. Take it as for what it is, but it's not that big of a deal when it goes into a fitting. So that is with 2-inch PVC. Now for our next test, I've got some 3/4-inch PEX. This is blue PEX. Obviously, you can get red or blue. I've got some blue scrap laying around here. And we'll go ahead and cut the blue PEX. Open it up enough. Put the blue PEX in. There we go. And there's the scrap out the other end. Let's look for burrs. Not really any. Nice and ready to go for a fitting. And our scrap. So no problem with that at all. All right, now, it's not rated for this, but I got a piece of 3-inch. Let me see if I can turn this piece around here. Of 3-inch PVC. There we go, 3-inch PVC. And let's see if we can do anything with this at all. I know it's beyond the advertised limits, but let's just see. Let's just see if we can even partially cut this. All right, so I'm going to at least try to see if I can set it in here and see if I can make any partial cut on this. Let me move the camera. Nope, I think we're going to call that a fail. It just pushes it right out of the jaw. So if you've got pipe larger than roughly 2 inches, this tool really isn't going to work for it. And in all fairness, if I set the Kobalt aside and go back to my usual suspects here, this doesn't do any better either, and I have to get out a hacksaw, use a bandsaw on this, or otherwise to actually get to this 3-inch pipe. It's not ideal. I wish this had a larger capacity, but I also wish these had a larger capacity too. So I'll take what I can get to make my life easier when I need to do some PVC projects or plumbing. And the fact that I can have something here that doesn't even put any strain on my wrist is great. So if you remember when we looked at the box, it mentioned other material besides PVC, CPVC, and PEX. Well, today I've got a piece of 3/4-inch copper. I don't know if this is going to work well. So normally I would cut this with this tool with a blade and spin it around. But I'm just curious, will this do it for me or not? I said other, and I just want to see what the other means, and there's not a lot of guidance elsewhere. Maybe this is a bad idea, but we'll just go ahead and see. I've got safety glasses on, and we'll give this a shot and see what happens. So here's the result that you can see here. The blade stopped before going all the way through. It folded in the ends of the copper as I kind of expected that this would. And it stopped early. So now we need to release this blade. I'm going to try pressing on it right there. And that did pop up. We'll take the pipe off, take a look at it, and you can see this really is a bad idea. It's kind of not surprising to me, but just wanted to show this anyway, and the fact that the blade stopped before going all the way through, I think is an interesting thing to see, that there is some resistance or technology in here that detects that there is something that's a little bit not quite right with the cut, as you saw trying to cut copper. So in this case here, use the correct tool, which is going to be something like this, and not this. So after you saw the gore with the copper pipe, let's just see how well the blade still cuts. We'll get back out our 1.5 inch PVC and make one more cut. No problem. Look at the end, just fine. Great job, and we are still in business after that little intentional mishap with the tool. So now a couple things here out of the user manual that I think is worth pointing out. On page 11 of the manual, there is a replacement part for the blade, KPCA 124-03 is the replacement part. And then on page 13, there is a handy chart of some problem solving in case of motor overheating, or if the vents get obstructed, or the LED work light flash rapidly, meaning either the tool has a problem to stop all operation, or the tool has stopped working and to protect itself from internal overheating. So there's some solutions here you might want to familiarize yourself with on page 13. So overall with this tool, I've got to say I'm rather impressed with it. I like how handy it can be. Now I will say with the $169 price tag with the battery and charger, or I want to say it's just somewhere around $120 without the battery and charger, it is quite the proposition compared to how much a pair of handheld cutters cost. So this is not going to be a tool for everybody. That it's significantly more, but if you do any PVC pipe construction projects, you make anything else recreationally out of PVC, or you're a plumber, or you're redoing a house with a whole PEX system and have a lot of cuts to make, this could be the tool for you. I think the obvious limiting factor in terms of how useful this tool is going to be the fact that it's only 2-inch pipe that you can cut and below. Would be nice if it could cut larger diameter pipe. It doesn't. So if you've got a main trunk line, a line from a toilet that's larger than 2 inches, you're going to have to use a hacksaw or a bandsaw or something else to cut that with, and not this tool. But when something like this is available, it's going to be super handy for you. The other situation that you may need to think about with this, because of the electronics in it, that I've got some amount of, that I've had some significant amount of use with this, is when I've redone my sump pump line on my house, while the sump pump system was still active, and I have dropped this down in a dirty hole in my backyard with muddy water around a sump pump discharge, that I have no problem doing that with this tool, replacing the blade, cleaning it up, wiping it down, and moving on. A battery-powered tool like this, you'd probably want to think twice if you're redoing a sump pump line and about getting water around the tool. And so I think this is a tool best used dry. I like the fact that it has the onboard hex wrench. It's really nice. The hex key for changing the blade is included, and there's onboard storage for it. Now, if you're wondering, that is a 5mm metric hex key. And then on the back, there are the vents here you got to keep clean, because this is a powered tool, so you got to keep it from overheating. But otherwise, it's well balanced and does its job great. So if you need to make a lot of repeated cuts, this would be a great tool to add. Obviously, it's not going to be for everybody, but if you do a lot of this, this could be the tool for you. I will say what would have been fantastic is if there was a way you could somehow add an attachment at the business end of the tool to also do PEX crimps. Now, I don't know if anybody that does that with a tool, but if this tool did do that for crimping PEX fittings, that would have been just the chef's kiss of an amazing tool. But again, like I said, there are no other tools that are both a cutter and a crimper all in one, or where you could change the dies back and forth to do that. I know it'd be a little more complicated, but I think that would be a really cool idea for a tool. And so with that, if you got any questions or comments, think of any other uses for this tool, put it in the comments down below. If you like videos like this, go ahead, give it a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day. Bye.